All right, welcome to another episode of the Building Legacies podcast with me, Adam Garcia. Today, I'm super excited about this. I have a newer friend, but somebody I've been watching for a very long time. Desmond Clark played for the Chicago Bears, as people locally will know. 12-year NFL career. He spent 8 seasons of those with the Bears. Was in the Super Bowl in 2007. He wrote a book, Principles of Winning. He is also the founder of Bear Down Logistics, which is how him and I got into contact. And I think more important than all of that, he's just a good, normal person. And so I'm really excited to welcome you today to the Building Legacies podcast. I'm looking forward to learning some stuff about you.
It's a lot in there, man.
It's a lot
in there. So where do you want to start?
Well, so I am joined, with Brad Kay. Brad, as you know, is one of my business partners at New Path. And the main reason I brought him here, he's the CFO, so it's hard to get him to talk into a mic and everything.
Yep. Man, you got to watch that money.
100%. 100%. And he also, he's a lifelong Bears fan. So he's had season tickets his entire life. So I have all these things that I care about, the businesses you've been starting and just kind of the legacy you're leaving behind, which is why it's a good fit for you to have, to have you here today. But Brad, I think, will be able to talk about, some of the things. He had a good one that he was asking me about yesterday, and I'm like, I don't know, you should ask Des about that. So I think that's what today is all about.
Let's do it. Yeah.
So give us, everybody knows who you are, so it's a little bit different here, but give us a little overview about yourself, your career, talk about the NFL, and then some of the things you've been doing post NFL.
Yeah, so like you say, everybody around here knows about the NFL stuff, but I'll take it back to where it all began in Lakeland, Florida, born and raised. Went to Kathleen High School, not Lakeland High School for people.
That's a big deal down there.
Yeah, because obviously when they think about me, they're going to think about football, and Lakeland High School is like one of the biggest football programs in the nation. I did not go to Lakeland High School. I went to Kathleen High School. After that, had the opportunity to go to Wake Forest. Spent 4 years there, great career there. Actually left with some records, and they have since been broken, but 6th round draft pick to the Denver Broncos in 1999, and 12 years later, they were saying your ass is too old, too slow, make too much money, so it's time for you to find something else to do because we're not paying you anymore. So after the NFL, did a few different things, kind of was just trying to find, my lane.
Yep.
And the first thing that I did right out of the NFL was get into real estate, commercial real estate. So the thing about my path is as soon as I started doing well at something, I switch. So I started doing well at real estate, so like 6, 7 houses, and it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Because the weekends and the evenings, when you're doing not commercial real estate, but residential real estate, your weekend and your evenings are taken up.
Gone.
I didn't like that. I wanted to be off on the weekends and evenings too. And then I got into medical device sales. I started a medical device company with my partner. As soon as that started going well, this wasn't on me, it was kind of on him. Some things started going on with him where we had to disband that company. Then I got into I became a financial advisor. Wayne Messmer and Associates is where I started because the guy who owned that company with Wayne just was a guy, I was like, I like your lifestyle. And I like how you think about managing people's money. It's not about the money, it's about the people. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that's cool. Like, I really want to get to know people like that. Did that for a few years with him. The market kind of switched, and then I got recruited over to Mass Mutual, where I think I ran into probably the best leader that I ever kind of trained under. Manny Amesqual, who's the CEO of Mass Mutual Great Lakes in the Detroit market now. Just one of the greatest people and the greatest leaders that I've ever been partnered with, so to speak, and kind of ran that course. And then I said, I'm getting tired of corporate America. I just want to go out and do my thing and inspire the world because that's what I'm passionate about.
Yep.
I wrote my book, Principles of Winning, and I was planning on releasing that in 2020, and the world shut down.
Could be a good time to read a book, though.
It was a great time to read a book. But then through that iteration, that's where I found the logistics industry. I was contacted by a good friend of mine now, Brian Rice. Hey, you ever thought about getting in the logistics industry? Like, no, what the hell is logistics? And I studied it. I said, you know what? I think I actually like this. And I found home for me in logistics, building something that was mine. I wasn't up under anybody else's roof, so to speak.
Yep.
And I love everything about it. But like I tell people, I really don't do logistics. I lead people and try to help them be successful, because everybody who works with me, they know more about logistics in their own lane than I know about logistics.
Right.
Yeah, so
but
that's where we're at now.
I think it's a testament to you. We're bouncing around a little bit, but I think we should talk about the way that you and I met, because this is like, crazy. So, and Brad knows the story, but we're dealing with a lot of car washes. We're building these all over the country. And one of the biggest issues we've had, as you know, is how do we get all the equipment from all these different people to the spot we need it at the time we need it. And by the way, in a very organized way, because then it's not like it's staying there. It has to be, all put together pretty quick. So we've been working with these logistics companies, equipment companies, developers, all sorts of people, and nobody's ever got it right. I mean, we've had issues where, we have a project that's going right now, and the equipment's not supposed to be there for 3 months, just randomly shows up on the site. By the way, this is a muddy job site. We have nowhere to put it. We don't know what to do with it. We don't even know what it is, because we're not the guys that install the equipment.
Chicago, it's raining.
Yeah, so we're like, oh shit, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do with this, right? So, anyways, I'm hitting all these logistics companies. Our whole team is reaching out to companies that can move things. And I'd been following you for a while. Obviously, being a Bears fan, I was able to, I've followed you, and you posted something about logistics. I'm like, oh, this guy's in logistics. And I was in kind of a crabby mood, because we just had a bad, fall, I'll say, on the logistics front, where, the product didn't get there quick enough. I was all pissed off. And so you put this very motivational post. And by the way, becoming friends with Des will make you feel great about yourself, because, you'll be having a day and all of a sudden you get a text, you are the man, you'll do this is great. Part of our meeting was, I send this note, you posted this motivational kind of post. I'm like, hey, what are the chances you can move car wash equipment? And, then I leave, I go to a meeting, and a couple hours later, I get a call, Desmond Clark from, Florida. I'm like, what the hell is this? I pick up the phone, hello? And you're like, hey, Adam, it's Des. You just reached out, we could do equipment. And I didn't quite buy that it was you at first, because in my head I'm thinking, all right, well, this guy is, has kind of a public persona. You got this company, and I'm sure that there's these employees and people that are there working. But for some reason, you picked up the phone and decided to make the first outreach there. And you and I had talked about, even just before this show, you were saying that, some of the deals you win, people tell you they reached out to 10 people. You're one of the 2 that actually called back.
Exactly.
Right. And that, why is that? What's going on with that out there?
I love it. I love that people don't follow up, people don't call back, because I call back and I follow up, and I win business because of that. And if somebody is hitting me up personally, I'm not going to have an assistant or anybody call them back. They thought enough to reach out to me personally, right? It takes just a couple minutes. Yeah. And in your case, it took a little bit more than a couple minutes. I sent you that message back, and I'm sitting there waiting for all right, well, he's not going to hit me back. Let me see who this guy is. Adam Garcia, New Path. Okay, so let me, he actually works there. Okay, what's the phone number to New Path? And I got the phone number, and I called, and I wanted to speak with Adam Garcia, and I got to you, and because that when somebody sends something like that to you, that's a hot lead.
Yeah. Right. Oh yeah.
That's business. Somebody asking you, do you want my business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say no.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go after it, and I'm gonna go after it myself, because if I would have had Hart call you from the Philippines, you'd have been like, who what's hard? Like,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm calling.
Could show up as spam. Could
Right,
you know?
right.
There's so many
and
things
then
that
it'd
could happen.
have been a disconnect. So
Yep.
me calling you, it's just I think that's the way that business should be done.
Yep.
Personable, and just straightforward. Like I didn't know exactly what you wanted, so I needed to get in contact with you to figure out. Yes, I can move this kind of equipment, but give me more details on
Yeah.
it so I can actually tell you specifically, yes, we're the right company for this, or no, we're not.
Yeah. Well, and I think to me, that actually tells me a lot in that, and this is something that we speak to our salespeople all the time. If I'm, if I could talk to any young people that, are watching this, that want to get into business or do something, you're never too good to close a deal. That's one of the things I try and just beat onto people as they come into our company. Sometimes someone's been a salesperson for a couple of years and they're like, well, why am I doing the cold calls? Why am I, making this first discussion or having this first meeting with somebody? And, if you could have somebody who has had the high of being at a Super Bowl, pick up really effectively kind of a cold call in a way, right? And just do it because it helps drive whatever mission forward that they're trying to drive forward. Who are you then to not pick up the phone when that moment comes across?
Well, and we always say too, and I think actually business has gotten away from everything that you just said, right? People directly reaching out, feeling like they're, responsible for your own company. I'm going to figure out who this guy is. I'm going to make the call. Nothing substitutes making the call, having the in-person meeting, and actually figuring out who someone is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we've gotten so far
Absolutely.
away of how business has historically operated in terms of sitting down, and at a table and actually going through it. And now it's like I'll just send an email, or nothing can substitute for sitting down in front of a person and actually figuring out, the deal or who that person is, or
You
all
get to
those
connect,
things.
right? You get to sit eye to eye with somebody, and you get to
Right.
feel their energy. You get to
Exactly.
see them, how they move, how they talk. Like you said, hey, does this person just want something from me? Or,
Yeah, oh,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Or
You never know.
Is it genuine? And we talked about this before we came on. We flew all the way out to Fort Stockton, Texas. Let's let the crickets go for a little while because no one knows where Fort Stockton, Texas is, just for a job, right? And it was like, you guys coming out here? It's like, yeah, we're coming out there. Like,
Yeah.
we're moving.
No problem,
You guys are paying us $260,000 to move something. Why wouldn't we show up?
Right.
Right.
Why wouldn't we show up?
Right.
And we never met you guys before. So we're going to show up at the job. We're going to coordinate everything on site. But as we were talking to them, I asked them that question. How did you guys even get to us? And they say, hey, we research different companies. We picked the top 25, and from there we narrowed it down to the top 10. We reached out to the top 10. And you were one of the few that actually called. And after we talked to Lewis, who was my VP, it was like, yeah, we were sold right away.
Yeah.
And it was just picking up the phone call. And now, beyond that, going there and being on site, letting them see how we actually work, how we coordinate everything, and just being there with them.
Oh yeah.
Like,
And that's a huge part of it is
Yeah.
like being the person that they could trust. If something goes wrong, you're on the next flight. You're going to
Exactly.
be there to kind of figure it out. It's not just like a sale and then you disappear. You're there in the event that you're needed for something.
right. And it's just that human connection, man, that, like you're saying,
Yeah.
I think we lost that as a society, especially when COVID happened, right? Everything went to Zoom meetings and
Yep.
and it became the new norm, but nah, that's not the way it's supposed to be done.
No.
Like,
Well, and I
especially-
think people could learn from you. I think people can learn a lot from you, but I think one of the big things is on the art of the deal itself. It's like in your mind, you pick up the phone because you think there might be an opportunity. You and I talk for a little bit. And really, after that, I was out somewhere. I was at some meeting somewhere. And, I probably missed a couple emails or, texts that came after the fact. Then you had your guy call and, say, hey, hook me up with this deal. Then you say, hey, I'm coming to town. Let's grab coffee. We end up getting coffee. Then we start becoming friends and we do a couple dinners. And, we're starting to kind of learn a little bit about each other. But one of the things I talk about, with you, the difference on the logistics side is you made it easy, actually. actually. You made it very easy to say yes, because I was never waiting for you. It was never me waiting for you. It was you always there. Hey, if you need me, not, and like, that's an art, because it's not like a pushy thing. You could go over the top.
It's very intentional.
Yeah.
Like one of my things in business is I never want anybody waiting on me. Like if they're waiting on me, then we're in a zone that we don't want to be in. Yeah. Right? And it happens sometimes. But if you're waiting on me, you're not going to wait too long for at least some type of communication to let you know where I'm at in the process.
Yep.
And I think that gives people comfort, because when they don't know where you're at, then their mind starts to, all right, so what's going on? What's going on? And usually in business, you're not thinking the best.
Right.
Unless you have that relationship with somebody over years.
Yeah.
Where you're like, no, he got it. But at the beginning, it's like, no,
you never know.
I don't know these people.
You never know. Yeah.
I wonder, did they even see this? Yeah. No, we've seen it.
Yep.
But I'm going to let you know that I seen it, and that, hey, it's going to be another day or two before I actually get to it, so you can take that off of your plate and you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, because we're all looking for that next, thing where we all have people to answer to and clients and things like that. But, when you make it easy, I think it's a big deal. And I think it's interesting, as a former athlete, there's not too many people that work or train harder than, athletes. Specifically, when we're talking about, NFL, NBA, things like that, where it's like a year-round kind of training regimen. So in some ways, for you, business has to be, I don't want to say easy, but is it easier to do that than, the stuff you used to do?
Physically, yes. Mentally, I don't know. It's about, I think it's just, people take different approaches, right? Like we talked about my book, and the first principle that I always talk about is my name and my word, right? So for me, I always want my name and my word to always register real high with people. And that's why I say that stuff is intentional, right? And once you build that over time, everybody's going to screw up every now and again. But once you build that your name and your word with people, now it allows for that occasional miss. Right. But my whole approach is I want to build my name and my reputation with people. So I wouldn't say that it's easier, because that's sometimes it's hard to do. You gotta make the tough call. You gotta be, in the right place at the right time. You just can't always say, I'll get to it tomorrow, or, whatever. It'll happen. No, you got to actually go make it happen.
I think probably for you too, you have every excuse not to do that, right? Like you've had a ton of success, obviously through your life, right? Like, I mean, playing a Super Bowl, now you have this company, like you said, you went through all these different, I won't say careers, but different iterations. No, trying to find it, and success kind of like, I won't say it finds you, but you put yourself in a position to succeed. And so through success, I mean, you have every reason not to do that. You know what I mean? Like you have all the excuses not to do that, but it's super respectable. And I think that probably resonates with, your clients. It definitely resonated with us. You do this not really having to, right?
No, but I take the different approach. Okay, I was successful playing football. Adam, you don't give a shit if I'm successful playing football.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to know, can I get the stuff from point A to point B on time, right?
Right.
So, my success in another area has nothing to do with this. And, I talk about being intentional a lot. I stopped doing interviews on sports for 3, maybe 4 whole years, because I wanted people to transition with me. I did my first interview on 670 to score last year. It was the first time in I think 3 or 4 years.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't want people always hearing me talking about sports all the time.
Yeah.
Because now you're just going to identify me with playing football all the time. Instead of now.
Yeah, people, Brad, what the fuck, dude?
No, but people, when people think about me now, they think about logistics.
100%.
They think about Bear Down Logistics. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want people, oh, he plays football, because at the end of the day, again, oh, great, you was a good football player, but can you move these loads for me?
Right.
Well, I think that's the difference, though, right? Like, building a successful company and being successful in logistics, there's you take that approach, whereas someone else might take the opposite approach and say, hey, I can get this first deal based on my name. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get another deal just based on your name if you don't come through, right?
Exactly.
So like taking that approach is what helps you build, for the future in the career you're in now.
It only helps you get in the door, right?
Right.
And like you said, it may help you get that first deal because some people may be starstruck. Oh,
Yeah,
I work
right.
with Desmond Clark.
Right.
But if Desmond Clark comes and does a shitty job,
Well, and by the way,
and it's going to spread
totally.
Yeah,
quicker
right,
than
right.
somebody else, right? So
Well, and when we talk about it, I mean, running the business that I run every day, it's cool. It's awesome that, like I grew up in Chicago, got to see you in the Super Bowl. That's really cool. But to your point, how long did it take from when we first started talking to when I first introduced a client? Because none of that matters really. Is I'm trying to build my own brand, my own things that are going on, and I think one of the things that's interesting is I didn't, and I still believe this. I don't care about how long somebody's been around. I don't care. What I really care about is if I'm partnering with anybody, whether it's a subcontractor or a client or whoever, a partner that we're going to move equipment around with, I want to know, do you have a winning mindset? Because I know in my mind something's going to go wrong for sure, 100%.
Yep.
Somewhere, somehow, something's going to go wrong. And by the way, even when we did that deal, there was a couple little things that were going wrong, and in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, here's the deal. If the guy's got a winning mindset, we're going to figure it out. Right. One way or the other, we're going to figure it out, and then we're going to do a few deals together. And some of our best clients that we work with today, there's been big issues on projects or their funding or whatever the situation is. If we can work through all that, like a normal deal, which is 70% of the time, that's easy. Then the rest of that's kind of easy. So I think I agree with your approach, and I also think that we also shouldn't discount the mindset that you had to put your body in for so long that almost then has to become permanent because it's now who you are.
Yeah.
Right? Is you want to win. That's the game.
I can definitely say that. I believe, and if nobody's in here athlete, don't take this personal. I believe that guys, girls that play college sports at whatever level, I think they have an advantage over the rest of the society in a way because you're not meant to push yourself to that type of extreme, right? And if you can get yourself to go to that level, like there's not a whole lot that you can't do in military and sports, and more so military because that's actual life and death, right? But when you could push yourself to those extremes, like 99.9% of the world can't do that.
Yeah. Right. You're saying because you're doing both the normal training that you'd have to do, but also then the school work on the side?
I'm really just talking about the training.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the training because that'll make you tap out quickly. That'll make you quit school.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not built for this. And I've seen it happen where people come in and they can't cut it. So they go home and forget school. Like even the guys who say, all right, I'm just gonna stay on the football team or on the basketball team, on whatever team, just so I can go to school. Those guys have a distinct advantage too because they still had to put themselves through it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're getting tossed off the team.
Exactly.
If it's not,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that even in our business now, you get 50 resumes for one entry-level job, and now extrapolate that across every business all over the country. And so how do you differentiate? And by the way, those are already scraped resumes. Those are like, you need ABC, grade point average. You want people that, have internships and have all these things. So then how do you differentiate that after all of that? Sports is a really easy way to do it because that if somebody was also committed to something physical, well, then, okay, if we could take care of our bodies, you can take care of anything in this world, right?
And also the fact that somebody is probably down your throat like on a consistent basis.
Yep.
Like, get your ass up and let's go. Like that type of, they can take that and keep going, right? And in today's society, being coachable is, we're kind of losing it, right? Or just being able to be very, very direct with someone, and not having that person take it personally. It's like, no. I don't mean that personally.
I'm trying to help you.
Even though I'm telling you to get your ass going, like, let's go. Like, I'm not talking about you as a person. I'm talking about your activity level.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about something that you're doing or not doing, not who you are as a person.
And you coach in Florida still, right?
Yeah.
And so do you, I'd love to hear the perspective of somebody who, you know, is trying to build a business. You have your own, you know, reputation and everything that you've built. You always got people wanting to hang out with you and talk. You know, one of the busiest people I've ever met. By the way, Des calls when he's got a dinner in town, and it's like even his dinners are scheduled to, like, it's going to start at 5 p.m. There's going to be 16 and a half people. You know, everything is so dialed in. So when you have to go sit and coach, especially when you do like youth, what is that, man? Is that tough?
High school, man. And I'm coaching JV high school.
So you're not even coaching varsity high school, right?
No, I'm not coaching varsity high school. Well, I will be this year, but just a tight end position, but still focus on JV. And should I say this? Yeah, I gotta say it because it's the truth. Like the school that I coach, we don't have the most talented athletes, right?
Yeah.
Very, very good kids. Very good kids. Like you invite all these kids over to your house, and you can leave for the weekend, and you'll think everything is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But trying to get them to go that extra mile and go that extra effort, not all of them. And get them to realize, like, you have more. Right. You can push more. Yeah. And I think it has a lot to do with kind of where we're at in our community. Like, I grew up, like, sports was it.
Yeah.
That's your shot.
Yeah. In this community, there's always going to be a tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so trying to get them to mentally push past that comfort zone, that's kind of where I struggle. Because you see that these kids, they have talent. And I'm talking about one particular receiver. And if he ever hears it, he knows who I'm talking about. Like, the dude can be like one of the better receivers, but he won't push himself. Yeah. He actually quit because I benched him fourth quarter of a game because he wasn't giving me everything that he had. And he quit. And I went back and I told his people, I was like, I still love him. And I told him after the game, hey, next game, we're not even thinking about any of this stuff. Yeah. But when we get to practice, I'm still going to be on you because you're one of the best athletes out here and you should be dominating.
Yep.
And if I don't hold you to that level, I'm not being a good coach to you.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. And it's the same thing in business, right? I had couple guys walk away because I think I was being a little too tough, and then I had to let one or two guys go because they didn't get what it actually takes to be successful.
Yep, been there too.
Yeah,
and it's that's the hard part. We talk about it a lot. It's like, it's pretty bad when you want something more for somebody than they want it for themselves.
Yes.
Because at some point you come to a realization where you're like, what am I doing right now? Like I'm spending all this time, all this energy trying to get this person from here to here because I know they can be there. But there's the fight, there's the pushback of, well, it's hard because of this or it's hard because of that. I got news for you. It's hard. It's going to be hard, right? Yes. Like that's a part of it.
Right.
And I think, you and me becoming friends and learning about your story, I mean, it's hard for someone to look at you and say it's tough at home for me, right now, right? You've gone through everything you can go through that, would be in a movie that is like the story, it's like biblical in a sense, the way that it all comes together. And yet, here we are.
It's crazy, man. And I'll just touch on a couple of those things, like just growing up, single mom, because my dad was addicted to drugs, and going through that whole thing with him and really looking at it and saying, nope, I don't want to be that, right? And then, the other thing I think you're referring to is like me having to go and rescue my son when he was he was kidnapped. And, I made a promise to him before he even knew what a promise was, that, I was going to be a good dad to him. And I had to say, all right, so what am I going to do? Am I going to let this happen, or I'm going to keep my promise? And when my son is texting me, hey, Dad, can you find a way to bring me back to America?
Yeah.
What do you do? That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And trying to keep your mind locked in on what it needs to be locked in on, and going back to being 14 and making a decision that I want to be successful.
Yeah.
I don't want to be what I'm seeing every day. And I was a kid, so it was still times where you get unfocused, but I actually kind of understood which direction I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I didn't know the path that I wanted to take, but I knew which direction I wanted to go. So, it's everything is hard. It's not a whole lot in life that's easy until you go through the hard.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you go through the hard, it'll get easier. And I tell all my kids this: do everything that you need to do that's hard right now while you're young, so when you get in your mid-30s, 40s, life starts to get easier for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's why he speaks at,
Right.
events, because,
Right.
I think you hit it, every time you and I talk, you hit it. And, we always talk about being, we just talked about, being friends with you is having a side of, a shot of espresso when you need it. It's you could have a bad day going, Des, what's up, man? Nothing, man. I hope today you're blessed. I hope, it's everything is positive, but you've put it out there so much, and you make yourself believe it so much that it almost makes other people have to buy in to the positivity of it all.
We say all the time, though, and I think it's also good, it's good to do hard things. You know what I mean? We push each other to do things that we don't necessarily want to do. You know what I mean? I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. every day and do the workout, go for the run, do all those things. But it's
that challenge.
Yeah, exactly. It's once you've done that, it makes the rest of the day easier.
So easy.
Doing hard stuff makes all the other stuff so easy.
But then just go back to what we just said, though. You're doing the hard stuff now. When you're 70, right? Life is going to be easier for you when you're 70
Right.
because of what you've done.
Right.
And look like you maybe in your 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're doing in your 30s now, right?
Definitely.
So you do the hard stuff now, it get easier later.
Yeah.
You take it easy now, it gets harder later. Mm-hmm. And
you got to pick your hard.
Yeah.
It's what everybody says,
Yeah.
right? You got to pick. It's hard to stay at home and do nothing,
right?
Because at some point it feels good for maybe a couple days. For us, maybe it feels good for an hour, and then I start itching, and I'm like, all right, we got to get out.
Yeah.
But maybe for some people it feels good for a week or a month. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But then after a while, you see all your friends and all the people you follow online, doing this stuff and doing just sick shit, right? And you're like, oh, that kind of sucks. I wish I was a part of that.
Why am I not doing that
Yeah,
kind of stuff?
Yeah. I remember even going, in high school because my parents didn't have, the funds or whatever. It's all my friends were going out. I have friends that were, making money and, working as mechanics and whatever when we were younger. And, I'd always complain to my dad. I'm like, man, these guys got money. They're able to go out to the bars and have drinks and, do all these things. And, it's easy to complain about your situation, right? Mm-hmm. And my dad was like, you can do that too. No problem. You want to go and do that? That's cool. You're 20 years old right now. That's gonna be great for a year or two. Then when you're done with that, you're going to be like, wow, why didn't I just really put in the effort, in my 20s, get through school, do the things you're supposed to do. And so I was like, all right, you got to pick your heart. That's kind of the game.
So you can go hang out at the local bar, or you can build yourself where you go hang out in the other country.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
But the hard, it's like you say it with the JV guys. I think it's such a good, and with you, everything's intentional. So I'm assuming that that's on purpose while you're coaching a JV team and like the challenges that come with that. You probably learn a lot about running a business by doing that kind of stuff because, like they say, you build a business. Not every person can be an ace.
Right.
You can't. Not every person is working from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. every night. We know that because guess what? We also couldn't afford all those people. You're not going to be paying top tier for every person at your company because you need the people that want to leave at 4 or 5 o'clock. You need the people that, when 5:01 hits, they think they worked overtime and, they're out of there. On the weekends, they close it. You need that stuff because it's like cap space on an NFL team or an NBA team. You can't have 15 Des Clarks, right? You could have one. Maybe you could have two. Cap space is moving these days, but you can't have everybody do that, right? And so that's the ultimate game. I feel like
everybody has to play their role, right?
Yeah,
and everybody. The great part about sports is once you understand your role and you can lock into it and be the best at your role, now you got a spot on the team.
Yep.
Right, and it's the same in business. Like, hey, you come in as a CFO. You have your role, and then you have people that you coach that needs to play a role for you. And if they can understand that defined role and execute at that role, you may not need that person to be the person that's working 70 hours a week.
Right.
Yeah. You hit your 40, you do it strong.
Yeah.
And you're going to take the weekend off and go have the best time that you can have.
Great.
But as long as you got that role accomplished, then it's all good.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I think, we talk about the winning mindset a lot. Your book is called Principles of Winning. Tell everybody a little bit about, the book. What made you write that? Is that something you knew you wanted to do?
I actually started speaking. So even before I started speaking, I paid this lady $15,000. And before I paid her that $15,000, I was like, am I about to pay this lady $15,000 to coach me how to speak? I was like, whew. And her name is Sarah Victory. So I was like,
good name.
I was like, is this your stage name? Or she's like, no, it's actually my name. So, man, she was so good, right? So she made me write the whole thing. But she was coaching me all the way through it.
The book you're talking about?
No.
Or the speech?
The speech.
Okay.
And she brought all of that out of me. And I was doing that Principles of Winning speech for 4 years before I actually wrote the book. So that was already in my head. So writing the book was kind of easy. I was able to put more into the book and explain a whole lot more. But yeah, that was something that I was on stage doing for 4 years before it actually became a book. But no, the book is that was a different beast because, like I said, you get to explain more about the principles, how they came about, and all of the stories. And so it took me back to reliving some of those times, like with my father, and going back with Coach Joe when he taught me, hey, all you have is your name and your word. Once you lose that, you don't have anything else in life. After I was ditching practice, you know what I'm saying? And he called me and it was like, son, all you have is your name and word. And, once you lose that, you lost it all. And I didn't understand that as a 16-year-old.
Yeah, right.
But later on in life, I caught it.
How often do you use that line in your coaching today? All
the time. It's like, just think about anything. Like, you guys have a team here that's doing everything for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
You guys just come in here, talk, and y'all handle that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But think about how you guys actually found them, right? And then why you keep them is because they built up something around their name that's valuable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that I think that's the first key to success is really knowing who you are.
Yep.
Like, what does your name mean to you?
Right.
And then what do you want that to mean to everybody else? Right? And it's got to be intentional.
Right.
It just can't be, oh, well, I'm Desmond Clark and I'm the kind of, no, like, who the hell are you?
Right.
And that's the foundation. Now you can build off of that. So I talk about name and word all the time.
Which, it's funny because you've said that to me a couple times as we're thinking about how we're going to do some more deals together. I know, you guys hopefully will do some cross marketing with us and some of the upcoming shows and whatnot. But, I think, like we said before, if you find somebody that really buys into their own program and, respects themselves and, pushes their business to a certain level, it's like, all right, my business is in good hands if you kind of hand over, because, we say this all the time. If I give you something and you're moving equipment across the country, you're taking a piece of your business off, you're handing it to somebody and saying, I hope you take care of this.
Right.
And so nothing else really matters if you can buy into that person, I feel like, and they'll figure it out. We all started businesses, right? At some point, you started a logistics company without moving anything in your life. I started a construction company without reading drawings, right? Or ever building anything.
Yeah.
Can't even hang a picture on my wall back when we started this thing. And so at some point, someone's got to buy into you.
Right.
And that's, to me, I think that's everything.
Is there something about logistics that you enjoyed more than the other iterations, as we've said?
Yeah.
Or is there something that's drawn you to it that
Yeah, it's you have so many moving parts, right? And it's the processes and the systems that you have to have in place, and making sure all of that stuff is coordinated, right? And it just reminds me of a big team.
Yeah.
You call a play on the football field. You need 11 people to do their job for that play to be successful. Every now and again, somebody can miss an assignment and you still can have a successful play.
Right.
Same thing in logistics. Somebody could drop the ball somewhere and it still can go right. But typically, if somebody dropped the ball, you're not going to have a good play. So, like I said, my thing is really just like leadership. Like, can I bring all of these people together and make all of this work and pull on your best attributes and, now your best attributes over here. You seen what I did with you, like, after our first conversation. Talk to Lewis.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Talk to Lewis.
100%.
Right? Because Lewis is the guy who...
Yeah. Well, I started asking questions. You're like, all right, here, let me help you with something for a second. Yes, I did just find your number and call you. But I'm not the person. I'm going to do you a favor, and I'm going to put you in touch with Lewis. I was like, oh, he's doing me a favor. It feels good in that kind of
We do that all the time, though.
100%.
When it comes to construction,
oh my God,
I'm not an expert at, pouring concrete or anything like that. It's like we direct you to the people that have the answers.
And we have to.
Yeah.
Our job is to be like, ringleaders. You're trying to, put the right people in the right spot.
Right.
Get if a client comes to us, and we always say, we want to be like the guy in Central Park that opens his, jacket. There's watches. You got shoes.
What you need.
Yeah, right.
So our thing is, if you need anything in commercial construction, I don't care if you're trying to sell a building, buy a building, if you want to do architecture, design, invest, you need an invest, whatever it is. I hope you come to us, and I hope our guys open up the trench coat, and it's all right there. And that includes, that's why we kind of started talking originally is, even logistics. How often logistics is very similar to construction in that it's a project by project kind of deal. But if you get a good client, it could be a repeat kind of situation. A lot of stress. Very rarely is somebody going to come over at the end of it and be like, man, you did such a good job for me. Everything was so great. And man, I wish I met you soon. Like, very rarely is that going to ever happen. It's usually like, you were supposed to be here 5 minutes ago. It's like a high stress thing. And stepping back a little bit, I get it now. Now I get, and you get, that logistics is a small piece of everything that we're doing. Construction is a small piece of a master plan that somebody's putting together, right? You got to build this studio. That's just like a baby time lapse. But then someone's got to operate it, run it, drive it forward, get the money to produce things and whatever. And
that's why you said earlier, we made it easy. And so, especially when we're doing like a big super load project, moving a transformer or something like that, we're the last people on the bottom of the totem pole. Like, we got so much other stuff up here that we're worried about. We just need to get this from here to there. Can y'all do that for us, please?
Right.
Like, and don't bother us in the process.
Make this easy, right?
And so that's why we take that approach. Like, when you come to us on a project like that, no, we'll handle the cranes.
Yep.
We'll handle all the permitting.
Yep.
We'll just give us the project. We'll quote you on the whole thing. We'll explain everything to you, how it's going to be ran, dates, times, this, that, and the other, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And because we understand where this ranks in the priority of things that you got to get accomplished.
Yeah.
And it's not that high.
Well, and it's kind of interesting. I have other friends that, I think we've talked about some of them, but that we're athletes or are athletes. And, one of the hardest parts is, coming out of this world that's similar to business in the sense of like the mindset that you have to have for winning and whatnot, but very different in the day-to-day kind of aspect, and also the world that's around. There's nobody insulating you. When you get into the business world, it's like you're in the jungle. There's no insulation. There's no protections. There's people that are out there trying to get us, right? There's bad guys out there. And you told me a story that I thought was super interesting about how, you just came out of the league and somebody had gotten you to invest some money into something, right? And, you get into this situation where, you invest all these things and you think everybody's got the best interest, but that's not always the case.
Yeah. And this is why I was still in the league. And I attribute
you were in the league. Okay.
Yeah, I attribute this to just being greedy, right? Making a bunch of money, right? So when you're making a bunch of money and you're supposed to be locked in on what's making you the money, why go out and take risks and chances, right? So I ended up putting like $750,000 into this oil company, and it was supposed to, be producing oil. We were supposed to get our dividends, but for the first 9-10 months, it was a guaranteed 2% return every month, and the checks was coming in guaranteed. And then the bottom dropped out in 2008, 2009. And it was like, okay, well, we're going to give you 1.2%. We got the rest. And now it's 0.5%. And then it just stopped coming, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, this guy, he sat at my dinner table with my wife and my kids and looked me in my eye and told me a lie. Because it was a Ponzi scheme the whole time. And so for me, I wanted to do some things to people.
Right.
And I recall being on, like, leaving some messages on the phone, if I ever catch you, blah, 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 this and that. And then I found out that, it was about 30 NFL players for about $40-50 million total. And then I seen some of the names that was on that list. I was like, let me stop calling him because he may wind up dead.
Right.
And I don't want my
Your
my
voicemail.
I was like, hold on, we need to investigate you. You made some. Like, I was just mad. I really wasn't going to do anything.
It wasn't me. Where were you on this date?
Yeah, one of these other 30 guys here. Yeah, I know some of them. They probably would have.
But that's the thing, right? Is like it's simple. I teach my kids that is there are bad guys in this world. There's people that are going to try and get you. They're going to try and take the shortcut. They're going to try and pull that out. And even with all these forces that exist out there in the world, I think it's cool to see someone like you being positive, writing books, now building a business. Like it's like probably something you don't even think about as much anymore these days, but it's still it kind of goes to what we were trying to say earlier. Life's hard, man.
Yeah.
Life's tough. Bad shit is going to happen to us all at some point, right?
And like, my wife asked me this. She's like, how do you come up with all this stuff that you write and talk about? It's like, I just live life every day and I pay attention, right? You're gonna have experiences every day in life, but you really got to pay attention to those experiences to learn from them, right? And then, like you said, and I talk about this on stage a lot. And I ask the question, who thinks that life is always going to be good and it's always going to be positive and nothing's going to go wrong? And no one raises their hand.
Right.
But here's the catch, though. If you already know that, why do you get so down and so depressed and go into such a funk? Because you knew at some point something was coming. And I think this is why I have the mindset that I have, is because when it comes, it's like something was going to happen. I've had great. I mean, I played 12 years in the NFL. who am I to complain about losing $750,000, right?
Right.
Something bad was going to happen eventually. I live a freaking great life. Like I'm building a company that I would have never thought 5 years ago I would ever be into, right? And it's going so well. At some point, something's going to come that's going to make me have to be like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But then it's coming. So
I told
how am
you,
I
man,
going
I'm gonna make a teddy bear with Des. It's gonna look like you, and you're gonna push it and say, "Bad day's coming sometime soon." You know, it's like
we talk about it all the time. It's like, especially when you're running a business, there's all of these things that happen on a weekly basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in some weeks it feels like it's like insurmountable, right? And then you get to the end of the week and we'll look at each other and we'll be like, it's kind of just an inconvenience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that bad.
bad.
At the time, it can feel like super overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the end of the week and you're like, all right, like, it actually just made you tougher. You know what I mean? Or better.
We just had
like,
that. We just had that a couple weeks ago when these gas prices were going up, right?
oh yeah,
And so we had put out some quotes, and they came back and said, "Hey, is this price still good?" We was like, "Absolutely not. We need to quote it again." So we quoted it again, and then the gas prices kept going up.
Yeah.
And so we went back and tried to get more money, and they was like, "Absolutely not. You guys gave us a deal. We came back to you guys. Either you're gonna honor it or you're not gonna honor it." And so my name and my word, right? Gotta freaking honor it.
Yeah.
We lost a shit ton of money.
yep,
But I told my guys, I was like, but now we know where the market is at. So if the prices went up, our prices also go up. We're gonna bounce back next week.
yep,
I didn't know the ball was gonna be overinflated.
Yeah.
And when the bounce back came, we bounced it and it hit the roof. And I told the guys, I was like, see, we took a loss, but
we're back.
it was nothing that we could have done to predict that. Right. And so we just eat it, take it, and let's just move on. Let's not worry about the loss that we just took, especially when it was something that was kind of out of our control. We didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
we got caught up in circumstances. And this is another thing, Adam, is that if we always let circumstances dictate how we feel and how we think and how we go about our business, you might as well, I almost said something that, you might as well just go check yourself in to a psych ward, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Because circumstances are always going to be here, there, over here. And I think it's the people who can anchor themselves and say, all right, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to be, no matter what. And no matter what still allows for sometimes, we're human.
Right.
Right? But for the majority of the time, you're anchored, and this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to react to things, and this is what I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And you just be that no matter what the circumstance is. And like some people don't understand that. You get some people that, they want to let the circumstances dictate how you should feel also. No, I'm not going to feel like that. And you could think that I don't care or I'm just being blasé about whatever, but I'm not. It's just how I choose to approach it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing that there's going to be problems, knowing that things are going to happen, and there's always that tomorrow, I think is the big deal. It's funny. Him and I have a thing too, where you could have the biggest issue ever. You could have a deal that you thought was yours goes away. You could have a lawsuit or whatever happens in business, and then the next morning get a call that you're building a gas station or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'll walk in and I'll just say, "Boys are back."
And you just boys are back.
Boys are back. It's like it's that's part of the fun of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is knowing that there's kind of this journey. And I think you're right. I think listening to the way you coach kids, but it translates so perfectly into business in the sense of like, come on, let's get you to your max level here. I'm not telling you that you should be 10 steps higher than your max level.
Right.
I'm saying if we think you're here, let's try and get there then. Let's try and get us to that point.
Yeah.
So as you kind of step back a little bit, this whole podcast is building legacies. I mean, you're a pro speaker. That's a whole business of its own. You have logistics, which continues to blow up and will continue to blow up. The books, I'm sure that there's going to be another book at some point. What does it mean? What is building legacies? What does that mean to you? And what are you trying to leave behind?
I'll start with the book. I actually have 3 books.
In the works right now?
No.
Or totally?
I've written 3 books.
Okay.
But only one that people know of, Principles of Winning. Some people know of Beyond the Game, Before and Beyond the Game. I wrote that book as I wanted to introduce myself as something other than a football player. That's the name, Before and Beyond the Game. But my first book I actually wrote for my twins when they were young. I just wanted them to have something from their dad that they can always go back and say, Dad did this for me. You know what I'm saying?
That's cool.
He wrote this specifically for me.
That's cool.
And so now when I think about writing, I write a lot. I have notebooks and notebooks. I carry a notebook with me all the time just to write in. And I think about sometimes when I'm dead and gone, all the grandkids, the great grandkids, gonna go back and look through this stuff and be like, I wonder what he was thinking then when he wrote this.
Yeah.
And I write a lot of my thoughts, and I write a lot of the things that, a lot of the emotions that I'm going through at the time also, and a lot of the visions that I have for the business or the family or this year or next week or whatever it is. And one day, they may look at that and they can understand, oh, this is why we're here as a family. Mm-hmm. And now talking about the other part of it, building a business. And I learned from football. I made $15 million in my career. I can guarantee you I don't have one penny of that money anymore. But I learned so much about, hey, I made a lot of money. And then I didn't blow money. I did things that I wasn't prepared to do, like invest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And start businesses. And I wasn't present. I didn't educate myself enough on it to be putting that type of money into it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, divorce, cut that. So all kind of stuff. And now that I'm kind of on, I'll say this second act where I haven't made this type of money since I played football.
Yeah.
I know a little bit more now. I understand a little bit more of what I should be doing. And I have a more clearer vision of where I want this money or these resources. I know what I want it to accomplish for me.
Well, and you're definitely, and I don't know if I've only known you for a couple of years now, but you're definitely very intentional, which I don't know, have you always been that way, or is that part of the growth and learning and, all this kind of stuff?
I think I was through college. And then once I got to the NFL, kind of lose some of that. I lost some of that.
Yeah.
Just because, living life is great.
Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And if you ask any of my teammates, they'll probably tell you, hey, Desmond was one of the guys that kind of had it together. But, you just lose focus because you never can see the end. You always think it's going to keep coming.
Yeah.
Even my last year, I got cut, and I was like, oh, well, I'll bounce. Soon as my knee heals up, I'll bounce back, and I'll be on another team.
Yeah.
That the other team never came, right?
Still going to the combine to make sure you don't have another shot.
Yeah, so just learning a lot, and now talking about legacy, I want my kids and my grandkids and my wife to look at me and say, you know what, did a pretty fucking good job taking care of us.
Yeah.
Right, and setting the example. Right, and with my son, I push him hard, in the gym, not because I want him to be an athlete, because I want him to be mentally strong.
Yeah.
And I want him to understand, hey, if you can get through this tough stuff right here, like
Everything's easy.
I told him, I was like, if one day, I was like, you know what would be the biggest present for me, sir? I was like, when you're like 25, 35 years old and something happens and you look that in the eye and be like, that ain't shit. My daddy used to put me through harder stuff than this, and I always overcame it.
Yeah, that, I mean, and you talk about that, but what else could we ask for?
Yeah.
You're building a legacy, you're building something that, we're trying to make them a little bit better. And the biggest challenge, which a lot of people here have talked about, you're in a different spot than where you grew up today.
Yeah.
Your kids, are never going to be in that spot, right, of where you grew up. So how do you teach the things that you learned, that I learned in a different kind of way that we don't necessarily want to recreate?
Yeah.
We're not trying to recreate some
You
of
got
the
to
things.
manufacture stuff, man. Like, and I'm just talking about my son because he's the only one that's still like, he's a teenager. My other kids are all grown. But I literally have to manufacture stuff because he's such a good kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we had this freeze down in Florida this year, and it killed like all the tropical plants.
Yeah.
And I was doing a bunch of traveling in February and March, and so I finally had like 3 weeks home straight. So I was like, oh, we got to go out here. We got to pull all these plants up. And I was like, I haven't been tough on this dude in a while. I was like, as soon as he screw up, I'm about to jump all over him. And I'm serious.
That is awesome.
And so he was doing something.
I wonder if that's what my dad was thinking when I had to do all that shit.
and like, he wasn't, I forgot exactly what he was doing. But I was like, man, you gotta learn how to work, man. Like, quit being so soft when you work. Get in here and get this stuff. And like, I just started jumping on him, jumping on him, and like he's to the point now that he doesn't even flinch anymore. Like a couple of years ago, he used to act like he was all scared and like nervous. He don't do that anymore, and I love that about him, that he understands, because I tell him I'm going to be tough on you. I want you, but I'm being tough on you for a reason.
Right.
Like, I want you to be mentally tough, so I'm gonna push you. I'm gonna try to put you through stuff, so you know how to deal with things in life. And he didn't flinch at all. After it, paid him $250. he had been bugging me about this freaking he's into gaming, so he wanted he wanted this router, this gaming router. It's supposed to be so much better and faster. And my wife kept saying, "Hey, you want to get it for him?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get it for him." Like 3-4 times, he going to her. And I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna get it for him. I got a plan. Like, just let me. He's got to earn it. He's got to earn it." So after he let me like ride him for that whole time. And it almost made me feel bad, because then he'll come back, he'll be like, "Dad, that's all we got today?" That's all we got today. Like, that wasn't enough.
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah, that's it, man."
Yeah, but he's gonna benefit from that. Like, and I think it's way more rare today. You know what I mean? Like, parents don't do that anymore. And like, I always think of that clip. It's Dana White. He's saying like, the kids today that can do that extra work or have that mentality are going to dominate all their peers. It's just not normal anymore.
100%. Well, even these guys all laugh because my little guy's 5 years old, and I'm hard, man. I am hard on him, and I know it. And he'll watch this one day, and I do sometimes even feel bad about it, but. He's a 5-year-old boy, and he'll come into the office in his wrestling with his like wrestling bag or his like baseball bag or whatever, and he'll walk into his office, and I'm like, "Hey, man, is everything okay?" He's like, "Yeah, why? Why the fuck didn't you look at Brad and shake his hand and say hello to him, Mr. Brad?"
Right.
And he's like, "I don't know," and he'll go up and do it, and these guys are all like, "It's okay, don't worry about it." But to me, I'm like, how do you manufacture something?
Right.
that you don't, we're not going to let our kids, like, I'm not going to go have my kids, do things that they're not supposed to be doing to make money, right? Like, that's not the goal.
Right.
But you want to give them that little grid of, like, there is no fallback plan. You said something today that I actually wrote down that I think is a big deal. I don't know if you've said this before, but this community, there's always a tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you've ever said, or did you just fly?
I think about that all the time with those kids.
That is such a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because I think that is the big difference is growing up, the way that you grew up, even the way that I grew up, there's no fallback. Like, I can't go like work for the family business. There is no fallback if things kind of don't work out. And when you have that behind you, just poking you as you're kind of running. Yeah, you want to stop sometimes or you slow down, but then you feel that poke in the back, and there's really nothing to do. So we're trying to recreate that poke without actually having to be a thing. Right?
Yeah, you have to, because you've done well, right? They live in a nice house. They get driven to school in nice cars. They eat nice meals every day. Where is that part that's going to build the muscle of that grit of wanting to go out and understanding how to go out and get stuff done, right? That's why I use the training for my son. Some mornings. I'm like, you okay to go to school? He's like, yeah, I'm sore, but I'm gonna be good. But here's the thing that he likes from it now, though. He likes the fact when he does like this.
Yeah, right.
He got guns. Yep. He likes the fact when you hit his stomach, it's
steel.
It's like six-pack, right? So he's getting into that, and like to me, I'm
starting to feel good.
But he also understands the hard-ass work that he has to go through to get that in the mornings. Like, we'll be going, don't stop resting in between the reps. You rest after you're done with the set. Don't rest. And then at the end of the workouts, this is the last thing we got to do. I'm about to kick your ass. I just want you to know right now. And he'll, here we go. Yep. And then we'll be going through it. He's like, keep going. Keep going. If you fall out, I'll pick you up. If you fall out, I'll take you to the hospital. Keep going. Yeah. So that's just building that, man, and then at the end of the day, it's always okay.
Right.
And then,
always fine.
And then now you get to go and flex.
And you feel good about it after.
Yeah. Now you get to go flex and be like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool to listen. It's cool to listen to you, kind of learn how you become a leader, and really you've recreated yourself at least 3 or 4 times just based on this conversation, maybe more throughout the course of your life. What gets you up in the morning? What is it that as you're building all this stuff, man, and you've seen some highs. Him and I were talking about it before, and it's like you go to a Super Bowl, you're a kid playing Pee Wee football. And, you watch TV, you dream about like this big day and all this kind of stuff. And he asked the question earlier, he's like, do you think you're even able to like take that in when you get there? Or is it just like, you're just so robotic at that point that you can't even take a moment like that in? And then once it's over, how do you find that high again?
Yeah. You say you follow me on LinkedIn. I just wrote a story about that.
Interesting.
Did you? Okay.
I'll have to read that, because that was my biggest, like, when you're there, like, do you even have a second to, like...
It was about 10 seconds.
You know what I mean? Like...
It was about 10 seconds after we ran out on the field. I was like, I'm playing in the Super Bowl. Like, and just took it in for those 10 seconds. But then it was right back to, all right, now I got to go
machine mode,
Yeah. And
did someone teach you guys that, or did you just kind of do that?
I just kind of did it, just because the moment was like, dude, like, man, like, I'm playing in my home state.
Yeah. Right.
I got the family in the stands.
All your friends are there.
Yeah, and like this is the moment that you dreamed about. And for about 10 seconds, it's just, let me just breathe this in, let me just relax. And it was more about me relaxing.
Yeah, right.
Relaxing.
Yeah.
But then, once the game was over and done with, I've never watched that game.
Really?
Interesting.
Still bothers me, man.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I didn't wear my NFC championship ring at all. It was in the box until about 2 years after retirement. It wasn't something that I could be like, oh man, I got an NFC championship ring.
Yeah.
You know what I used to call that thing? The first loser's ring. Like, that was a loser's ring.
Yeah.
But that's crazy though, that I would think about like that, because
Totally.
now I look at it different. Like, dude, I played in the Super Bowl.
It's a moment.
Well,
Yeah, I played in the Super Bowl.
Not only didn't you led the team in catches too.
Receptions,
Yeah. I was gonna
But
say like
in the moment though, you're not thinking. You just, we lost the freaking Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
what?
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. To be honest, it doesn't surprise me that you thought
Right.
about it that way, because
I think just about everybody did on the team.
When I'm sure they did,
Yeah.
because you put yourself in that mindset of and you put it's like in your business now, you lose a deal, you might have that same feel inside of you that you're just so disappointed. How could I not do this? I know I'm better than this. You go through this whole kind of thing, but my dad used to say this all the time. He's like, you got to decide if your switch is on or off, because you don't have the ability to turn it on and off when you want it. You're either on or you're not on, kind of deal. And I think, guys like you, people that have built businesses, you're on. So of course you're upset. Of course, there's only one outcome you're looking for. But, as you step back, we all can talk about old, there's experiences we're able to talk about building businesses where at the time, I remember I could feel my heartbeat in my forehead, because I'm scared or I'm upset or I'm, whatever.
Yeah.
Now we could joke around about it and talk about it. So, time goes on, time heals things, but.
And you asked that
crazy.
question, what gets me up in the mornings? I think it's the same thing that gets you up, same thing that gets you up. When you have people that's dependent on you, right? And you've went out and you said, all right, here's the bar, right? As leaders of families, companies, or whatever, and you say, here's the bar. You can't be the one that go below the bar. This just happened to me last week. Me and my wife, we were up talking till about 12 o'clock. I go to sleep at 9:30. Like, I'm out of there.
Right.
But then I'm up at 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to sleep at 12. 4 o'clock came around, and I'm like, I do not want to go work out today. And then it just, like, right around 4:35, I was like, but if my son was to do this, I'd tell him to get his ass up.
100%.
Right.
So
you're
I was
up
like,
for that 30 minutes just thinking about
yeah.
this. Right?
So I was like, well, I can't lay in bed and tell him that, oh, I was just tired.
right.
And then, I wouldn't let him do that. So now I got to get up, and we got to go work out, and we got to go get it done. And so just, having people that's dependent on you and you being that bar setter, you got to get up and you got to go. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that keeps you motivated then,
Mm-hmm.
keeps you going. And what about, is there anything that you're chasing right now that is like, I don't know, could be specific,
Yeah,
but
it's
it
very
could
specific.
be, is it?
Oh, yeah. You already know. I told you this.
It's
Like,
almost
leading
like
question.
this is a setup question. at the end of it.
So I'm chasing $100 million in revenue for Bear Down Logistics. And so now why? All right, so I told you I made $15 million in the NFL over the course of 12 years. So in logistics, the average profit margin is 15%.
Okay.
And so when I played football, I used to get agitated sometimes when I felt like people were only talking to me because, yeah, you're a football player.
Right.
There's nothing else to you but
Right.
football. That bothers me. To this day, it bothers me when I think that's why people are interacting with me only, right?
Right.
Of course,
Yeah,
people are
right,
going to interact with me because of that. But so it was 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. I can't really remember. I said, you know what? When I get done playing football, I'm going to do something more significant financially than what I was able to do in football.
That's awesome.
And this is not for anybody else. This is just for me. Like, I know who I am. I know my capabilities. And I just want to show myself that I knew you was right.
Yeah, right.
I knew you was right. So when I get to that point of $100 million in logistics, with the average gross margin being 15%, which we're like at 27, 28% gross margins.
Right.
Because we do heavy haul and it has bigger margins. I'll be able to say, like, yeah, we did this. And I'm saying we, right? Because it takes a whole team to do that.
100%.
Yeah.
And you have a team, and I think, as we wrap up today, I think one of the things that's important for everybody to know is that, you meet a lot of people throughout your life. I've met a lot of people throughout my life, and people of varying degrees of success and whatever. And among those, you're definitely up there, just given the the things you've seen in this world, in the sports world, but then just the stories, man, of like the recreation and how many times you've really recreated yourself to be whatever you needed to be. Mm-hmm. But there's this like engine inside of you that I feel like is just kind of rolling, and it's kind of contagious. Like I talk to you, I get all jacked. When we're done with this, I already have like 5 things I got to tell him on the way back about.
I can't wait for this ride back.
Right. But I want to thank you for coming out. Thanks for being here with us, man. Becoming friends with you has been awesome. You've said some really, really awesome things that I think people are going to cut up and use, because I think that they're that great. But for everybody else, Des Clark, founder of Bear Down Logistics. If you guys are trying to move anything anywhere, is what I tell people. Give him a call. You'll hit his. I mean, the company continues to get bigger and bigger, so can't promise that it'll be Des that reaches out to you directly on day one, but it may be.
If they hit me personally, I'm always going to be the person that responds. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Awesome.
So thanks again, Des. We appreciate you, man.
Yes,
Great
sir.
to have you on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir.